Number 11 Iowa State women's basketball lost to number 17 Oklahoma today. And remember, Oklahoma got beat by Baylor by double digits last game. Remember, they did. And they got to host another top 25 team. This time they won the game. The final score was 82-79. End of the first quarter, Oklahoma scored 19 points while Iowa State scored 18. Iowa State scored 18 points in the second quarter, but Oklahoma scored 16. So 35-36, they were down by a point. Second half, Oklahoma scored 24 points while allowing only 12. Fourth quarter, Iowa State turned it on with 31 points, but they allowed 23. Clearly, that is not enough to win the game. And granted, I'm going to say this. In the first quarter, Stephanie Soares, a transfer from an NAIA school that's 6'6" at center, got hurt during the game. And she averages a double-double in the game. Per game, based on the stats, as well as three blocks per 3.2 blocks per game, 1.2 steals per game. She could shoot threes too, 11 for 36. 30.6%. I know that's not a high percentage, and she makes 2/3 of free throws, 28 for 42. So that's a big loss. But we'll have to wait and see what it is. I know for a fact it's an apparent knee injury or leg. We'll have to wait and see what the extent is, because if it is a long-term deal, this isn't good news for Iowa State. Not at all. Now, Iowa State shot the ball not great in the game. 38.3%. 23 for 60 overall. 10 for 28 on threes. 35.7%. 23 for 26 on free throws. 88.5%. That's the normal way Iowa State shoots free throws anyway. 34 rebounds in the game. 4 of those offensive. 13 assists. 3 steals. 3 blocks. 13 turnovers. 16 fouls. 18 points off the bench. Now, Oklahoma scored 24 points off the bench, 24 of those. So bench points do help. They didn't shoot the ball as good as Iowa State did. Just slightly better. 39%, 30 for 77 overall, 10 for 30 on threes, 12 for 15 on free throws, which is 80%. 38 rebounds in the game, 12 of those offensive. 3 steals in the game, 5 blocks. That was a big factor. Because no Stephanie Soares, she would be a blocking machine out there. 10 turnovers, 24 fouls, though. You got to work on your fouls. But I'll tell you what. Iowa State did have 2 starters that combined for 47 points. And that's not including one other player that had 14 today off the bench. Oklahoma also had 4 double-digit scorers. 3 of those are starters. That combined for 46 points, and it's not even including 13 points from one player off the bench. So what do these two teams have going forward? And I'm going to monitor the Stephanie Soares situation for Iowa State. Because if it is a long-term deal, like a season-ending thing, I'm not going to assume it is or isn't. But if it is, this is a big deal. Because it's going to affect not only for the conference, like the whole conference as a whole. Not just in terms of seeding, but whether or not they're going to win the conference. Let alone NCAA tournament seeding as well. So they could lose some other games. Now, Oklahoma does have to go on the road to Texas Tech. That's 13-3. That's not necessarily going to be a gimme. They host number 21 Kansas. That's not going to be a gimme game in there. They're 12-2 on the year. Oklahoma then goes on the road to 6-8 TCU. TCU was feisty against Texas Tech, but they're winless in conference. They should win that game. Then they host 11-4 Oklahoma State. That's the next 4 games, and it's not including a road game against Texas. That's 11-5. So that's 5 games right there. Now, Iowa State side of things, the next 5 games are the following. Kansas State, that's 12-4. Yes, it's an Ames, but that's not going to be a gimme game necessarily. Then they go on the road 11-5 Texas. And I know Texas is dealing with one of their better players out for the season. I know they are. Then they host 11-4 Oklahoma State. Then they host number 21 Kansas. That's 12-2. That's not necessarily going to be easy games coming up. The only game I would consider, in theory, a win would be TCU, but TCU can be feisty. They're feisty on defense, but they're offensively challenged. That's the thing. And TCU is also 6-8. So, in terms of the standings, of course, the only team that's unbeaten in conference now is Baylor. They're 3-0. Oklahoma's 2-1. Kansas is 2-1. Iowa State's 2-1. Texas is 2-1. So that, and that's not including West Virginia. That's 1-2. Kansas State, that's 1-2. Texas Tech 1-2. Oklahoma State 1-2. And winless is TCU. So, granted, it's a long way to go here because we got 15 more games. That's not including conference tournaments. So, we're going to have to wait and see on that injury situation for Iowa State women. Because if it is a long-term deal, this is big for the conference here. And not only just for Iowa State's sake, but the whole conference. Anyways, if you like this content, hit like and subscribing. I see you guys later. It's going to 500 subscribers. We're on the road to it. Let's go.